What is autism?
I would say that it's one of the most important things that you can actually do for your child,
Has the government put something in place for people in the village?
So we will teach them specific ways of communicating with the child.
Phenomenal Motherhood, where we discover, discuss, debunk, and celebrate motherhood.
One of the things I was not aware of is autism spectrum disorder. Now, I only started hearing about autism after I had my first child. I honestly feel like this topic should be spoken more about, and more awareness should be taught and educated to people, because this is a reality for some families, not only in South Africa, but the world at large. On today's episode of Phenomenal Motherhood, I am joined by Phoko Sematla, who is a behavioral therapist, and she deals more with autistic children. Welcome to Phenomenal Motherhood, Phoko.
Thank you for having me, Srame. Hi, everyone. As she said, my name is Phoko. I am a behavioral therapist, and I'm excited to, share more information on the topic with you guys.
Yeah, it's really an honor to have you here, Phoko. And before we go into all the details about autism, I want you to explain to us and make us understand what is autism.
All right. So autism, also known as autism spectrum disorder, refers to a broad range of conditions which are characterized by developmental challenges with social skills, non-verbal and verbal communication, repetitive behavior, sensory issues, and eye contact deficits. So those I can say the top characteristics of defining autism. Yes.
Okay. Well, I want to understand what causes autism. Is it something that maybe a pregnant woman does when she's pregnant that affects the child and causes autism, or is it a genetic or neurological cause?
All right. So there is no single cause for autism. There hasn't been one found.
Okay.
However, they do say that there are abnormalities in the brain structure or the function of an autistic child as compared to a neurotypical child.
Okay.
So those are one of the things that they pick up when they do a brain scan of an autistic child. Together with that, some studies in the USA though have pointed out things like nature versus nurture. So this would be, the environment that the parent is in whilst they are pregnant.
Okay.
Maybe as well as supplements that they take whilst they are pregnant. However, there is no concrete proof that, this actually causes autism.
Okay.
It's just studies that have been done to try and see that, does it have a correlation to the diagnosis of autism.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Phoko, I want to, maybe for example, I'm pregnant, right? And I go to my normal gynae appointments, midwife or whatever. Can they pick up from my pregnancy that your child is going to be autistic like they do with other abnormalities of the baby?
No, unfortunately not, because autism is a developmental disorder.
Okay.
So it means that it will be picked up as the child is developing.
Okay.
So either by the pediatrician when you're taking the child there, or obviously by the parent themselves, noticing maybe certain milestones that are not there.
Okay.
Or that are not reached at a certain, age, maybe like 6 months or whatever.
Okay.
So it's not something that they can pick up from pregnancy,
So Phoko, what are the signs that parents should look out for on their children, of autism, and also at what age do they start seeing these signs? Do the signs actually start showing? And what is the actual diagnosis process of autism?
The signs are delayed milestones, a socially awkward child, for a lack of a better word, challenges with non-verbal and verbal communication, and stuff like eye contact deficit, and, sensory issues as well.
Okay.
Those are the things that parent would typically pick up from their child as they're developing.
Okay.
The diagnostic process of autism can be quite difficult because, you know, it's not something that you can do a medical test on. You know, you can't do a blood test and then the blood test says that, okay, the child has autism.
Okay.
Or, you know, or give you a concrete diagnosis.
Okay.
So the correct practitioners, obviously, like your pediatricians, as they're seeing the child develop, would pick up that, okay, there are certain developmental milestones that the child is not reaching at a certain age.
Okay.
You know, and obviously the parent would have history as well of, you know, certain behaviors that they've picked up from a child that they feel like are alarming and would share them with the doctor, and that's how the diagnostic process would go about. Yeah.
And actually, as you mentioned that, it just reminds me of how you know, whenever we go to see the pediatrician, right, like he's always asking me questions of, is he doing this, is he doing that? I'm just like,
why?
Like, why? You know, he's always taking like the obvious things, you know, to a mother, not knowing that he's trying to pick up certain things, certain behaviors and milestones, you know. I think it's very important to, you know, keep taking your child for checkups and...
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I would say that it's one of the most important things that you can actually do for your child, you know. Just make sure. I don't know, like, after how long you're supposed to take the child, but obviously you would know, you know, in how many weeks he needs to go again. So make sure to actually go for those visits, especially if you've picked up that there is behavior that you don't understand. Because sometimes getting information off the internet can actually lead you in the wrong direction. So it's better to have somebody who has better knowledge, you know, like the doctor, to tell you that, okay, these are the things that we might suspect are going on with the child. Okay.
And I also want to know that, because like autism in South Africa, it's not something that is like we know about, we are aware about. So I want to know, are there like schools that are available for, you know, children that have autism, and also are there schools specifically for them, or do they also go to the mainstream schools that everybody goes to?
All right. There are a few schools, well, a number of schools rather, that I know of that take kids with special needs. So, you know, this is something that you can obviously get off the internet, or again from your doctor. Doctors always have, you know, a reference of which schools are out there that will be, you know, accommodating to your child's needs and all of that. Together with that, there are institutions like centers where they offer, you know,
like the one you work at.
Yes, I don't work at a center, but I did previously. I think when I started getting in contact with autism itself and autistic children, I was at a center. So you get centers like that, you know, offer therapy for the kids and all of that. The company that I work for is called angelscloud, and what we do applied behavior analysis. So that's our medium of instruction. However, ABA is not you know, offered at all these schools that I am talking about, you know, that are out there. So some institutions or schools use a different, you know, medium of instruction as opposed to others. So, and what we do is we do home programs for our kids. That's the difference, which you know, it allows us to tailor the program to the specific needs of the child. You know. So the therapy that I'm speaking of that we do, ABA, it uses a scientific technique which focuses on improving specific behaviors such as social skills, communication, you know, reading, academics, as well as fine motor abilities, hygiene, and grooming. So that's, you know, where the therapy, you know, focuses on developing the child and helping them reach, you know, their highest potential. The therapy has been in place for 50 years.
In South Africa?
No, it's something that's from the USA. But it's being used now in South Africa by, you know, we use it as well, angelscloud and other institutions as well. It is very intense, you know, it's an intense kind of therapy. We focuses on increasing positive behavior and decreasing negative behavior. As you know, the behavioral issues present themselves more with autistic kids, which becomes a bit challenging for them, to function better around, the home environment or a school setting, for example. So that's what ABA therapy does. The reason we do home programs at angelscloud is to, obviously, as I said, tailor the program according to the child's needs. But not only that, as well as to be able to have the time to work on grooming the child and their hygiene needs that may arise as they grow older. So with us being in the home environment, it also allows us to transfer the skills to the parents or the caregivers at home, and help them with the functioning of the child and the development of the child. Yes.
Sure. Okay, it makes so much sense, because then they are able, because basically, like you said off camera, that you are teaching them how to live.
Yes.
Basically, unlike kids that don't have autism, they do what we do.
Yes, the model behavior. Yeah.
Exactly. So you are teaching them how to live. So it will make sense to teach them how to live at the comfort of their home.
Yes.
It makes so much sense.
We have also started social classes, which focus more on the child's social needs.
Okay.
And this would be, outside of their home environment, and just trying to get them to socialize better with their peers and do certain activities with their peers, and see how far they can go in that area of their development. Yes.
Okay, that's also a very interesting thing that you guys do, letting them socialize with other children so they can learn how to socialize with other people, socialize with their friends.
Yes.
And also for me, when you're speaking about this program, I'm asking myself, how is the financial impact of a parent who has autistic child or children? And I'm also thinking about people that are in the rural areas, people that can't afford it. Is there like such centers for people which is free from the government? Is there something that the government has set up for each and every area, so children with autism can actually go to school and learn and function?
Before I even carry on, let me just mention that the social classes were working better for us as an institution before COVID, and the lockdown.
Okay.
Because now of the lockdown regulations, they've become a bit tricky to work around. However, it's something that we firmly believe that kids need, and we are still, hoping that as the country's situation gets better, we can, do more with it, expand it and see how far we can go with it.
Yeah, and speaking of that, for kids that don't have autism, this lockdown situation was definitely not working out for them. So I can imagine, children that are living with autism, how it was for them and the parents as well.
Yes. So it's one of those things that we are hoping that, we can actually take far and make it work for the kids, obviously, and the parents.
Okay.
Yeah. So to answer your question about the financial impact, it is quite great. I cannot lie to you. It is quite great. Firstly, because South African medical aids or insurances don't cover autism.
Really?
They don't.
Wow.
So it's all good and well that they would cover you taking your child to your pediatrician. However, once the diagnosis is there and your child has to go to a certain institution, that is not covered.
So you have to pay cash.
Yes, the parents have to make sure they pay for it themselves, source out the money, and just, depending again on what intervention is being used for the child, which institution are they going to, and all of that. But obviously the price would differ for each institution or school. The other thing is our kids with autism do require services of an OT, occupational therapy, because of their sensory issues that they might have, and motor skills issues that they might have. So you'll find motor skills, gross motor skills that need more attention from somebody that has that specific knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's an extra cost outside ABA therapy, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's that, and as well as I did mention that one of the characteristics is non-verbal communication. So speech. A child would need to go see a speech therapist.
Sure.
In some instances, meaning that that's another extra cost of them going to a speech therapist.
Sure.
That they need to cover. Together with that, so this is just, you know, their intervention that has been put in place. I've found out that you know, some of the kids do have extracurricular activities such as horse riding, swimming, you know, karate, and that is money as well. Yeah. The other financial impact that I think is worth mentioning is the fact that our kids do require to go on a diet.
Okay.
They would go to a dietitian where a dietitian would say, okay, this child cannot take gluten anymore.
Okay.
Because gluten causes inflammation in the gut.
Okay.
And it has been said to go hand in hand with hyperactivity, you know, and irritability and aggressiveness as well could be triggered by gluten, which comes from wheat, things like your bread, you know. So that and sugar-free as well, the diet would have to be, as well as some of the kids are not recommended to take dairy products. Okay. Because there are particles in the dairy products that travel through leaky gut and they travel to the brain, causing severe brain fog. So then, you know, that would affect their information processing and just other developmental skills that need to be in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of all these costs and speech therapists and so forth, has the government put something in place for people in the village, people that can't afford? You know, not only people in the village, but people that can't afford, you know, to bring their children to such centers and such schools, and speech therapists and dietitians and whatnot. Is there something available?
I don't know of any government institutions that actually go out into these places to, you know, look for kids that are challenged and offer services to them. I did, however, recently find out that there's a school in Soweto called Tulasizwe, and it's a special needs school. Okay. So from my understanding, it takes kids with autism and other disorders on the spectrum. Okay. So that's the one that I know about. Yes, it's free. Okay. I don't know of any other, I can say, institution or government program that's in place to actually, you know, do an outreach and go there and assist kids that are challenged, because, you know, it's very, what can I say, ignorant of the world as a whole to just assume that, you know, there aren't any kids out there who are in need of the services.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just thought of something now that there are, I remember at work we have partnered with an NGO that I think the NGO, I'm not sure if it's the same one, because the Tulasizwe, it sounds familiar. I'm not sure if it's the same one that we partnered with, that every year, once a year, we go and, you know, help out with the children, clean and give them food. I'm not sure if it's the same facility, but to be honest, that I wish we could do more. Yes. You know, and I mean, it's not only Soweto. There are other areas. South Africa is so large. Exactly. What's happening in other areas? What is the government doing about it? I wish they could intervene and do more. Exactly. You know, because it's
I mean, you know, it's not like these issues are not spoken of enough. Yeah. I feel like as of recently, people at large are trying to you know, have mental health awareness. Yeah. However, it's not specific to children and, you know, their disabilities or their challenges. Yeah. It's more of, you know, focused on adults and what, you know, they are facing. Yeah. I think the area of children is very well neglected, you know, at large, because, as I'm saying, I know of a very few institutions or NGOs for that matter that actually are going out into, you know, rural areas saying now we are here to see if certain kids have learning disabilities, do they have developmental challenges, how can we help them, and all of that. And I have to say, forgive me if they are there. However, I am not aware of them, which actually speaks volumes, because I have been in the field for 4 years, as I'm saying, and I think along my journey, I would have come across, people sharing information and saying, oh my God, you do this. I've heard of people who do the same thing. And,
true.
they're not only doing it for specific people, but, they're trying to do it out there in the world for certain people and all of that.
Absolutely.
So,
And if you're watching and you know of any institution for autistic children or children with special needs that is free, please comment down below and let us know which ones are available.
Yes,
so we can also volunteer and donate and help out as much as we can, because I really feel so sorry for for mothers, for parents that are living with children that have autism, and they don't know what to do.
Exactly,
they don't have access to such facilities,
and sometimes it's not even about the access, it's more of about the knowledge. Because if a parent that cannot afford to take their child to a pediatrician, how do they know that this is what's happening with the child? Maybe they pick it up as they go, but then where does the explanation of the abnormalities that they're picking up, where does the explanation come from? If there's no one in the family that maybe has better knowledge of what the child is experiencing, or the different characteristics that the child is presenting with, so it's an issue that I don't know, it still needs a lot of work, especially with the government and the things they have in place in terms of mental health care.
Because from the village where I grew up in, not Musina, like my dad's village, I know of a guy, he's around our age, and I think because maybe his parents were not educated enough around the disability or disorder that he had, they just left him to wander around the streets, picking up food on the streets to eat, doing just things that are not good for him, that things that will maybe even end up hurting himself, so I feel like the government should take it upon themselves to go out and educate, maybe even at clinics where women are giving birth, educate them, have antenatal classes where they talk about autism, so women can be aware,
and not only autism, but other, let's talk about developmental disorders at large. So when a woman is going for prenatal checkups, maybe in the clinic, let the government put people in place that can actually check these things out, because as you were saying, some of the things can be picked up, before the woman gives birth. Have people in place that actually are specifically there to check whether there are problems or there are alarming things that are being picked up from the woman's checkup and all of that. I think that can actually go a long way, because if you get an early diagnosis, for example, there are certain things that maybe you can try and do for your child, as opposed to you not even knowing at all that, what, my child is experiencing a particular thing that is named this and that.
And I just thought of something now that I remember on a soapy Generations, The Legacy. I can't remember which year it was, but I remember there was a child on Generation that had autism. And I think that's number one, awareness, spreading awareness, right?
I stopped watching when they canceled the first one. So.
Is it? But I also wanted to ask, because I can't remember specifically what had happened, but I feel like he had specific food that he doesn't want. Like, for instance, apparently I think he only wanted white food. Is that something in autistic children, that they want specific food to look in a certain way?
Yes, because their functioning is very routine based. So because of the sensory issues that I mentioned, you might find that a certain texture of food they can't take.
It makes sense.
Because it's for them, it's just something that their palate cannot handle.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is something that obviously the parent would pick up as they're giving the child, food, that okay, my child doesn't really like this, or doesn't like taking this. And if maybe they have not been to a nutritionist, that's when they would be compelled to go to one. And just to find out why the child is not receiving the food they're giving, or is not receptive to eating certain food, but would rather eat stuff like that are a bit harder, or smell differently than what they are offering the child. So yes.
Wow. Okay. If there's a mother that's currently watching us, and they have an autistic child, and they're struggling to integrate their child into their siblings and their the family dynamic, what advice do you have for them? How can they integrate the child into the family, let the child fit in, because obviously the child is different from the other children. How can the mother integrate that?
I think the first thing that they need to do is to acknowledge the fact that the child is different, the child is special.
Important.
Treat them as somebody who is special in their own way.
Okay.
Together with that, for example, what we do at angelscloud is we make it a point to give the family the right interventions in terms of handling the child and the child's needs.
Okay.
So we extend what we do to the family.
Okay.
So we will teach them specific ways of communicating with the child. For example, we teach something that is called manding. This is requesting.
Okay.
So when a child needs to request for something, or wants something rather, let them request for it.
Oh, okay.
So we teach them to say, can I have water, for instance?
Okay.
Those are the things that we teach the parents, whoever is in the home environment, the nanny, the siblings, just okay, this is their best way of communication when it comes to communicating with so and so.
Okay.
As well as I did mention that ABA uses reinforcement.
Okay.
So whatever we are asking the child to do or presenting to the child as a task, we always put reinforcement on the side, so that they are motivated to do what is needed to do, or what is being required of them to do.
Okay.
So that's another thing that we actually put in the home environment. We share it with the parents that okay, use reinforcement for the child, motivate them to do a certain thing that you want them to do. Simple thing like if a child is finished eating and you want them to take their plate to the sink, you can just ask them, please take your plate to the sink. Once they come back, you offer them a sweet, say, well done, that's very nice listening, which is it's another form of reinforcement that we use is social praise. So it doesn't really have to always be something edible for them. Yeah. It can be, you are doing very well, that's very good. We are so proud of you. Yeah, stuff like that. So those are the things that we make sure to incorporate in the intervention that we are using for that specific child. Because it makes it easier, as you are saying, for them to actually engage better with their child, involve their child in doing certain things that as a family they are all doing. But the other thing that I think is important to mention is that be patient with the child.
Absolutely.
Be patient with the child and respect their way of learning, respect their way of understanding, and their way of functioning and processing information.
Wow.
So that's another thing that I think is vital to teach the siblings, that respect your sibling, respect their space, respect certain things that they feel they love so much and belongs to them.
Absolutely.
So that's how you can actually get them to have a better understanding of, okay, this is our sibling, he's special, but he's still our sibling. We can actually, interact with him and do certain things with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a mouthful, and I feel like it's very, very important, also affirming to the child,
Yes.
Encouraging, praising
Yes,
them,
yes.
giving them a reaction after they do something
Yes,
great,
definitely.
and showing them,
Definitely.
oh wow, that's amazing, and patience as well.
Yes.
Even with kids that don't have autism, you still need to be patient.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really amazing. And I wanted to ask, if a mother has got an autistic child right now, what kind of activities can she do at home with the child? Can she do like normal activities that she does with kids that don't have autism, like playing soccer, helping to cook, helping chores, and going out, especially with going out, right? I know somebody that has a child with autism, and for the longest time she didn't want to be outdoors because she didn't want people to be, I think from experience, people looking at her and saying your child this,
exactly.
So she withdrew herself, so
or asking questions like, why is he doing that? Why is she doing that?
That's why, like, a video I did before this one is, certain things you don't have to ask. Just ask yourself, is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it your business? If it's not, just keep it to yourself.
That's where respect comes in as well.
Absolutely. So what kind of activities can a mother do with her child that has autism, like on a normal day, without sticking too much to trying to teach, just
them,
letting go and just
being, yes, I understand what you're saying, because like for example, outside therapy, activities that are enjoyable to the child. What you need to do is to understand your child, because autistic kids are different.
Absolutely.
Never ever compare your child to the next person, or to a child that you saw on a YouTube video, or that you read about in an article, that they enjoyed watching cartoons so much. Now forcefully your child must watch cartoons. There's certain things that you need to take time and sit down and just study your child, pick up what it is that they enjoy doing after therapy, for instance, or coming back from school. Do they enjoy sitting on a tablet, playing a certain game? Do they enjoy being outside, jumping on the trampoline? Do they enjoy swinging? Stuff like that. That's where you can also be a part of, be with them in the playground, play with them, jump with them if that's what they're doing. If they like running around, you can do the whole chasing thing with them, and kids really enjoy that, and most of the time have the energy for it. So I would say that study your child, get to understand what they enjoy, and allow them to enjoy it with you. So even if it's music, because some of our kids really love music, understand what type of music your child is into, what they love, listen to them, sing along with them. It's completely fine to do that, because you're creating a space where they are comfortable with being with you, and sharing that one thing that they really, really enjoy, that is reinforcing for them and that makes them happy. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I want to know, is autism curable? Is it something that after therapy and whatnot, a child can fully recover? And I don't know if recovering is the right word. But can it be cured?
Look, like any other mental health issue, it is a work in progress.
Okay.
Let me start by giving an example of an adult that has anxiety issues, for instance. When they go into therapy, they get guidelines of how to cope with being anxious around people, or with just feeling agitated, or whatever it is that they might be feeling at that time. They live with those guidelines throughout their adulthood. So same thing with our kids on the spectrums. The interventions that are in place are there to help them develop to the highest potential. So it's constant work that is in place for the child, and obviously depending on how the child is responding, can be escalated to another level from whatever level they started from. So that's the best thing I can tell you in terms of the treatment of autism.
Now I want to know, because we all have different styles of disciplining a child, right? So how then do you discipline a child with autism? Because you're trying to tell them, don't do this, but maybe they don't understand it the way that you want them to understand. How do you then discipline them? Do you like? I'm assuming shouting at them will freak them out, right? As it does
Most
to any
probably,
child.
like, I mean, I was about to say, if you shout at any kid, they'll probably like, excuse me. Yeah. So the thing is, the important thing with autistic kids is communication. How are you communicating with them? This is why it's one of, the rooted things in ABA therapy that we teach communication skills.
Yeah.
So this is not only about us teaching the child to communicate, but also teaching the caregivers or the parents rather how to communicate with the child.
Okay.
Because there's a certain way that I would speak to a child and they would understand me, but you would say the same thing and they wouldn't understand you.
Okay.
So
makes sense.
because of the negative behaviors that are in place that we are trying to replace now with positive behaviors, we have interventions in place. Let's say, for example, a child repeatedly claps their hands, even when you're speaking to them. You would have an intervention in place that they understand that, okay, that is not the behavior that is required from them at that particular time.
Absolutely.
So these are the things that actually come from therapy.
Okay.
So that's why we try a lot to have the parents understand that this is what goes on in therapy and this is how you get the child to follow through an instruction, for instance. Yes.
Okay, that's actually brings me to my next question, right? And funny enough, like just talking to you, I already have the answer to my next question of how do I support a friend that has children with autism, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. So I feel like if I had a friend that has a child with autism, number one, I think I would offer to babysit. Do you think that's let's say for instance the child doesn't know me at all, right? Do you think I should just maybe I want my friend to just take a breather and go out to the salon and do her hair and pamper herself while I take care of her daughter? Do you think that's a good idea?
Let me start by saying, before I actually come to what you're asking me, when you have someone that a relative, a friend that has an autistic child, respect them.
Absolutely.
Respect them, be patient with them, respect their choices when it comes to their child, when it comes to what they are choosing for their child. Don't go out and come back and bombard them with information about where they can take the child, what the child can eat, their books they can read or whatever. It's really,
it's overwhelming.
It is. And I feel like one thing also, I think I mentioned earlier before we started, that people don't take into regard is the emotional impact that the whole thing has on the parent, because nobody is out here asking the parent, are you okay?
Because I feel
how has this thing really affected you and all of that. People are quick to get solutions for them, not even asking whether those are the solutions that the parents are seeking for.
Sure.
So to answer your question, it would depend on whether she is comfortable or not, honestly. Anything that she is comfortable with, that her child is comfortable with, those are the things that I can say, yeah, sure, do them for her.
So I shouldn't impose myself.
No. Rather let it be a suggestion, so like, okay, my friend, I feel like I've got time, if you'd like me to come by and see you. And sometimes some things are better communicated in person than over WhatsApp, which is now the culture of the world we are living in. So it's take the time if you have it. If they're open to seeing you whilst you are there, bring it up in conversation. If you ever want to go do your hair or just relax, I'm here to be with the child. If they are comfortable with it, then I'd say by all means give them the break.
Wow.
Sure, guys. If you're watching and you've got a friend or a sister or anyone around you that you feel like you want to support and help, here's all the information she's given you. And Phoko, I want to know what's your advice or what's your opinion on spreading
more awareness around this topic, because I mean, we don't only want to hear about autism only on social media. Not everybody's on social media, you know, not everybody's got access to the internet. You know, we want the message of autism, or rather the information and education of autism, to go into villages, to go into, you know, underprivileged settlements. How do we go about that? How do we move forward?